Literally gain 6 pounds. 6 pounds overnight. I step on the scale and I'm like, what is happening? Underestimating portions. We truly tend to underestimate how much we eat. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm here with another episode, and today we will be talking about a weight loss plateau. So first off, what exactly is a weight loss plateau? Sometimes people think that they've hit a plateau when in reality, their weight is just temporarily not moving, maybe for a week or two. And guess what? This is perfectly normal. Our weight doesn't drop consistently every single day or week. It follows a natural fluctuations, and that's totally okay and part of the process. So that's the one thing to remember before you start freaking out, saying like everything I do is not working because the weight is not moving. I want to talk about causes of weight fluctuations first. So let's dive into what actually causes these weight fluctuations and the main factors. Number one is water retention. Our bodies can retain water for so many reasons, like changes in a diet, hormone levels, or even weather. This can result in temporarily increase in weight when you step on the scale. But I want you to remember, just because the scale is higher, it doesn't mean that you are gaining fat or you're not losing fat. Another thing to keep in mind is your food intake. What you eat and when you eat it can lead to fluctuations. For example, if you eat very salty food, although you still stick to your macros, but your overall carb intake is a bit higher than the day before, or you had a little bit more salty food like a Thai food, or you added a little bit more salt than you normally add to your meals, your body may hold on extra water, which will reflect on the scale the next day. Another thing is your exercise. You guys, if you have recently increased the intensity of your workouts or you started a new routine, your body may hold on to water as it repairs your muscle. It's very common to wake up feeling sore after doing squats that you haven't done for months, and all of a sudden you incorporated them into your routine and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, like my glutes are so sore. And then next day you step on the scale and the scale is up, right? That's because your muscles are filled with water as you are inflamed from tearing your muscles up during the exercise. So it's just inflammation and you're retaining an extra water in your muscles, but that water will go away in a few days. And then lastly is hormonal changes, especially ladies. You guys, hormonal fluctuations are fun. Let me tell you about that. Especially, like I said, during a menstrual cycle, that can be so noticeable on the scale. And I'll give you an example of myself. I got my period last week and literally gained 6 pounds. 6 pounds overnight. I step on the scale and I'm like, what is happening? Like 6 pounds. And then a few hours later, I got my period. So it's normal. I mean, I felt like a whale. I felt so bloated, so not good in my body, but I knew that it's impossible to gain 6 pounds of fat overnight. Remember that in order to gain 1 single pound of fat, you have to overconsume your calories to 3,500 above your maintenance. Meaning if your maintenance calories is 2,500, you have to eat 2,500 plus 3,500, which is 6,000 a day in order to put on 1 single pound of fat. It's almost impossible unless you really eat that much calories in one day. So when you see the scale go up a few pounds overnight, you didn't gain this much fat. Now, how do you actually know that you hit a true plateau? Let's talk about that. A good rule of thumb is to look at your weight over several weeks. For example, I love using the app called Happy Scale. You can just go and just download it on your phone. I think it's like $20 per year. And if your weight hasn't changed for 2 to 4 weeks, especially you are looking at the longer period, like those 4 weeks, if you, for example, are going through stress, right? Because you might be losing fat, but if your cortisol levels are high, your body will retain a lot of water. So in stressful times, you can be really looking on the scale just as the only indicator of progress. So I like to reflect back 2 to 4 weeks. And then if you truly know that you followed your plan to the T, and we're going to talk about that, then yes, you probably hit a plateau. But if you haven't followed your plan, and that's what we're going to talk about, then don't make any changes, okay? So I want you, when you think, hey, I hit a plateau, the scale hasn't moved for the last 4 weeks, and I'm plateauing, or I'm even gaining some weight, before you jump to a conclusion about making any changes, it's so important for you to reflect on your habits. Are you genuinely following your plan 100%? Sometimes we need to ask ourselves these tough questions and just be honest before you make any changes, because quite frankly, the plan in most cases work. It's just that the appliance and adherence is not there. So ask yourself, am I tracking my food accurately? Have I been snacking without realizing it? Like eating leftovers your kids didn't finish, or grabbing a handful of nuts while passing through the kitchen. Maybe your portion size is increased without noticing. You're maybe portioning your food, but you are adding an extra half a scoop of rice. Or instead of measuring out a 50 grams of avocado, you just like, oh, I'm just going to have half avocado and thinking it is 50 grams. But in reality, it could be 95, which doubles up those calories. Another question to ask is, how are your workouts and your steps? Like, did you skip your workouts in the last 4 weeks? Have you stayed on track with your step goal? How did you actually do? Ask yourself these questions and be honest, because you're doing this for yourself, not for someone else. These questions will help you to really see closely how well you're following your plan. And remember that if you're in a fat loss phase, I always tell our clients that is so important to just be 100% locked in and be hyper focused on that phase, because truly you want to get in and get out in like 8 to 12 weeks. You don't want to stay in a fat loss phase for longer than that. So when you go in, try to be as good as possible so you can actually get out of the phase fast, get the most out of it, and then go back to your maintenance calories where you're enjoying a little bit more food, because that's always more fun. I want to talk about the most common mistakes when we are in fat loss phase. And I'm saying we because, guys, I am not saying or pretending that I never make these mistakes and I'm always perfect, because that's not true and no one is perfect. And the idea of the perfection, or you thinking, oh, I have to be perfect, it's going to make you feel like every time you make a mistake, you eat a little bit more food, you skip the gym because X, Y, and Z reason, you're going to beat yourself up. So give yourself a little bit of grace and forgive yourself for not being perfect, because no one is, including me. So the most common mistakes that I see with most people is not tracking accurately, like I've mentioned. Many people think they're sticking to their calorie goal, but forget about small snacks like spoonful of peanut butter here or there, or bite of a cookie, or going to the kitchen and grabbing handful of peanuts or cashews, which is me because I love cashews. We have them in our jar and we just eat them once in a while, like being in the kitchen. And even my boyfriend, we just grab few. And I know how many calories is in those, right? So think about that. You create a calorie deficit, which moderate calorie deficit is 500 calories a day, right? And all of a sudden, the spoon of peanut butter, the avocado, few cashews during the day, every time you are in the kitchen, you just grab few. You all of a sudden got yourself out of the deficit. And in many cases, you're actually over consuming your calories and you are above your maintenance. So you are putting on fat, thinking, oh my God, but I'm in a fat loss phase. How am I not losing weight? Because all of these things. So not tracking food accurately is one of the biggest mistake I see with most people, including me. Underestimating portions. We truly tend to underestimate how much we eat. So measuring food is your top priority. And I don't care if you say, oh, but it's too much work. I don't want to do that because blah, 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 blah. No, you have to be locked in. Remember, I said when you decide to do fat loss phase, go all in, be 100% hyper focused so you can just stay there for 8 to 12 weeks and get out. So just get the most out of it. So track your food. It is not something you have to do for the rest of your life, but you're not going to get results if you don't track your food and if you don't understand what exactly you're putting in your body. Because if you don't know what you put in your body, you don't know how your body responds to a certain amount of food, how do you want to get to your goal? You're not going to. And lastly, one thing I've noticed with not our clients, but people who maybe join our program or who I talk to on social media are the people who, in their opinion, it might sound logical, but they are skipping their meals to cut calories, but this often backfire, leading to overeating later on. How many of you guys, ladies, I'm speaking specifically to you, how many of you just wakes up, get out of the door, maybe grab a coffee at Starbucks, and then all day you don't even eat, you don't have time because you're busy. Then you pick up kids from the school, you rush home, and then you finally can relax and you sit down on the couch and you eat a big meal. And after the big meal, you have a potato chips, and then you end up the day with ice cream. So you see what happened, right? You eat nothing the whole day. You literally starve yourself saying, but I'm not hungry, because you're not hungry because you eat so much the night before. So you waking up still feeling full. And now you're in this habit of not eating during the day and then over consuming your calories later in the day, which in a lot of cases people feel like, oh, but I only eat once a day. How is it possible for me to gain weight? Well, because even in that one meal that you end with a little bit of potato chips and ice cream, you can easily get in so much more calories than if you would had 5 meals throughout the day, portion it out, weighed it out, and exactly measured, knowing that you're in a calorie deficit. So in conclusion, if you think you've hit a plateau, take a step back and honestly reflect on all of your habits. Remember, weight fluctuations are part of the process. If you are absolutely 100% certain you have followed your plan closely and it just hasn't worked over several weeks and you are not seeing any results, the scale is not moving, then yes, you can consider adjusting your strategy, right? There is so many things you can change when it comes to breaking the plateau. But before you do some self-reflection and ask yourself these tough questions, don't make any changes, right? Just make sure to assess those habits first, because often just changing the approach a little bit or being more careful about really how well you're tracking your foods, measuring, and all of that makes a huge difference. So, guys, thank you for tuning into this podcast episode today. I hope you got some value. And if you did, please do me a favor and share this episode with your friend. Leave a review because your support means the world to me. And remember, you have the power to live free and fit lifestyle. Until next time, stay tuned and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.